You wanted the best. You've got the best podcast. The hottest podcast in the world. The Chris Voss Show, the preeminent podcast with guests so smart you may experience serious brain bleed. Get ready. Strap yourself in. Keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the vehicle at all times, because you're about to go on a monster education roller coaster with your brain. Now, here's your host, Chris Voss.
Hi, folks. Chris Voss here from the ChrisVossShow.com, the ChrisVossShow.com. Hey, we're coming here with another great podcast. We certainly appreciate you guys tuning in. Be sure to give us a like, subscribe to us on YouTube, hit that bell notification so you can see the video version of this. Also, refer your friends to thecvpn.com or the ChrisVossShow.com and tell them to subscribe. Say do it. If you want to change your life, you want to make it better, or maybe you don't want to make it better, maybe you want to make it worse, subscribe to the Chris Voss Show podcast, and you can do that as well. You can see all the authors that we're having on the Chris Voss Show podcast at amazon.com/shop/Chris Voss. We've got all the books that of the people we interview on the Chris Voss Show featured there, so you can easily go through and pick the ones you want. Grab them all. Hell, we've only had the greatest authors on the show, so there you go. You can also go to our new book club we're trying to get launched, patreon.com/Chris Voss, and subscribe there. We're going to talk about the show, talk about the authors, talk about the books, kind of the behind the scenes of everything that we do here at the show. Today we've got a most excellent author, and she's quite brilliant. She's written a multitude of books, more than I can count. I went to public school, so there you go. But her name is Ann Werner, and we're going to be talking about her new book called The Melt, and it's very apocalyptic, so it's kind of fitting for what we're experiencing right now. It might be a good guide maybe in the future. I don't know. According to her bio, she's always had a voracious curiosity and loved doing creative things. The combination of two has resulted in her lifetime experiences. From the mundane to the ridiculous to the sublime, she's pretty much run the gambit. At one point in the time, she even sold cemetery plots. That should be interesting. And didn't last long, and she became a professional actor. Her most notable role was Eliana on the soap opera Days of Our Lives for nearly 7.5 years, so you probably saw her on TV. And books have been her passion. She started writing in earnest in 1997, and she's been writing most of her adult life. She loves to entertain people, thinks it's very important to do. I think it's very important too to entertain people. And when you're having a bad day, when your heart gets broken, when things seem bleak, you can always find a few minutes of respite in the pages of a book or watching your favorite movie, TV show, or movie, she says. She tries to provide that respite for people, and I feel that she's written something worthwhile. And she's written a lot of books, so people are definitely liking them. Welcome to the show. How are you doing, Ann?
Well, thank you very much for having me, and I'm doing just great.
Well, thank you for coming. Your new book, The Melt.
Yeah.
This is fitting for our times a little bit. Can you, let's start out with your plugs so people can find you on the interwebs first.
Okay, well, if you go to amazon.com and you input my name, or you input any of my books, then you can go to my author page. Then I also have a website, and it is annwerner.info. And when people go to look for it, make sure that they spell my last name right. It's Werner. And then I am on Twitter. I'm at Ms. Werner, and I'm on Facebook and Instagram as well.
Awesome sauce. And we had your daughter on, actually, on the show earlier, about a month or two ago, and she was really wonderful. So the book, The Melt, why did you write it, and what's it about?
Well, I hadn't written anything in a while, and I was kind of looking through I keep a folder with all kinds of ideas in it, and nothing really resonated with me. But I used to write for a liberal thing called Liberals Unite. I used to write for Liberals Unite. And one of the stories that I had written was about some French scientists who discovered an ancient virus when they were doing core samples up in the Siberian, way up north in Siberia. So that kind of occurred to me, and that's what actually gave me the idea for The Melt. And I just thought that would be a really cool thing to write about. Now, mind you, this was in the autumn of 2016. I had no idea we were going to go through a pandemic. And usually it takes me about a year to write a book, but this one, it took me about, 3.5 years from the time I started until I finished. And that was because I was, at the time, I was living in Northern California. My place was for sale. And then I was going to take it off the market, but then somebody walked by my house and saw the sign and they called me. And then it was like, okay, drop everything, stop writing. I had to get on a plane because I sold my house. I had to get on a plane. Because I was going to come back to the East Coast after 40 years and find a place to live. And then I had to fly back. I had to pack up and do all that kind of stuff. So it was this protracted thing, but that's where I got the idea. It was from that article that I'd written for Liberals Unite.
Awesome sauce. So this is kind of interesting. Members of the last tribe of reindeer herders discover a body in the melting permafrost of the northern Mongolia steppe. Oh, I went to post school. And the virus dubbed the Scourge is unleashed on the world. So it's kind of like the coronavirus, only it's got a better name that's kind of more, I don't know, look better.
Yeah, the Red
titles,
Scourge.
The Red Scourge.
Yeah.
So there you go. Unleashed on the world. How similar is the Red Scourge to coronavirus? I mean, if you don't mind me asking.
Well, it's way, way, way different. I mean, the Red Scourge kills 95% of the world population.
That sounds scourgy.
Yeah, it's pretty scourgy, and it's pretty nasty.
All right, so definitely 2020. Don't listen into this. We don't need this to end up on the apocalyptic bingo for 2020. Don't give it any ideas. So give us some more details on the book, where the story evolves around. Does it mainly stay in Russia, or does it spread all over the world?
Well, it spreads all over the world. Okay, it starts out in Mongolia, and the northern Mongolian steppe, when these reindeer herders discover this body. So I wrote the book in two parts, because a lot of the dystopian books that are on the market today, they happen after the fact. So whatever has happened has already happened, and then the whole world's in disarray. I thought that I would like to take the readers through what it would be like. So I have the discovery, and then I have what happens after it's discovered, and then I take it from Mongolia. I go from Mongolia and I go to the CDC, and then from there, with all of the monkey mucks who are going to do whatever they're going to do about it, I go to this young couple in Silver Spring. And so this young couple in Silver Spring, they're shopping for a house. They have no idea what's headed their way. But then they buy this house. Now the house, because the guy wants a man cave. So this is their dream house, because this particular house is an older house. It's a post-World War II house when everybody was afraid of the atomic bomb. So it's got a bomb shelter. And this is where they escape the virus. They go in there. So that's the first half of the book, and it's what they go through. It's leading up to going into the shelter and then being in the shelter, and then after they've been in there, when they come out, what happens. So then the second half of the book is talking about, where do you go when the world that is just gone. Yeah. So that's kind of what I do.
No more Starbucks. The world's over,
no more Starbucks, no more internet, no more nothing.
So how much did the coronavirus pandemic influence the story, or did you already have it submitted?
Well, I finished the book in November of last year. And then I started, going through and doing all my little tweaks and everything. So when the coronavirus came up, there were a few things that it was like, who had ever heard of social distancing? So that's a term that found its way into the story. Another thing that I had been seeing a news report one night, and I guess some of the people from the CDC were being interviewed, and they were talking about small particle spread. So making it aerosolized, all right, which the coronavirus is just droplets, all right, but this one here is a small particle, and you don't really have to cough, you don't have to breathe it on other people, you don't have to do anything, because in my virus, spores from it are shed off of your body.
Oh man!
And you don't even know that you have the virus until you are, quite frankly, at death's door. It feels like catching a cold.
And you've already given it to everyone else.
Yeah. And then, and that's it. And I mean, and you're shedding these spores. You don't know that you have it. And then by the time that you feel like you're getting a cold, and within 24 hours, you're dead. Horribly suffering dead.
Horribly suffering dead. So it's kind of Ebola sort of.
Well, yeah, it's kind of a mixture of Ebola and the Spanish flu.
That's my kind of drink on a Friday night. Little
There
vodka,
you go.
mix a little of that in. Here you go, man. Take a shot of that, baby. 2020 coming at you live. Let's see. Some of the characters in the story, particularly the president, are very familiar. Is it on purpose or?
Yeah, because he had just been elected when I had started. I actually started this story before he was, I don't even like to say he was elected, okay? Before he was installed into the Oval Office, he had just, and I knew that we were in for some bad stuff, but
you and me.
No, I don't think anyone could possibly have envisioned. However, what really surprised me when I was going through this, because mind you, he had not really shown his full colors. And what surprised me was some of the ways that he acted, especially about the virus. There was no way I could have known how he would react. And yet, that's what I put in the book. And it's President Tower, a little Trump Tower.
President Tower.
So, yeah. So it really did kind of surprise me how accurately I predicted what he would do.
That's amazing. Narcissists are pretty interesting people. I've known a couple. That's why I kind of knew he was bad. I've known but I've known of Donald Trump, studied him. I used to think he was hot when, the Art of Deal came out. And then within a few years, it was like, hey, man, something's up with you. And then the more you watch him, does President Tower have small hands?
Got a small mind.
Small mind.
Small hands.
Yeah. So you split the book into two parts, and then of course, we'll ask you this later. The pandemic and the aftermath. Most of the stories of this nature begin after the destruction. So why'd you put it in two parts, I guess? Because
I wanted to take people. I didn't want to be like so many of the other books. I did some research. One of my very favorite books, and I read it twice. And once I get finished with this series, I will read it again, is Stephen King's The Stand. I also read, but that starts after the virus. I also read, somebody had recommended a book to me called The Earth Abides. I cannot remember the author, but this book was written, I think, back in the 1940s. And that book started after the virus. Now, I think there's a book out now by Nora Roberts, I think. Yeah, I think it's by Nora Roberts, called Day One. Now, I think from just reading the description of the book, because I have not read it, but I think it takes place at least for part of the actual pandemic before everything is all said and done. I could be wrong because I haven't read the book, but everything I've always seen, it's always when it's all done.
Yeah.
And
the virus is here, and it's just a story of people surviving it.
Because it really is. I wanted a study of human emotions and human reactions to what was happening around them.
Yeah. Like one of my favorite movies, not my favorite, but one of the movies I've always loved is The Thing. And, it's cool when they find the ice, or like Alien, where they find you see them find the thing. And then, everything goes down from there. But to me, that's better than coming in at the end where you're just like, what happened?
Yeah.
So that's cool. You marked the book as book 1
Yes.
of the After the Apocalypse series. You plan to do more in the series?
Yeah, I want to do. I'm aiming for at least 3.
Mm-hmm.
I'm always scared to death.
So are they going to be called The Melt, More Melt, and holy shit, lots of melt? No, I'm just kidding.
I have no idea. I came up with the name The Melt right away. Okay.
Yeah.
And I have no idea what I'm going to call the second or the third. But I never ever know I just get an idea for a book and then it becomes organic. I'm not one of these people that knows the whole story.
Mm-hmm.
I have so many characters in the story. They just like, oh, okay, I'm going to put this in. Oh, okay, I'm going to do that. And they're just organic. And
yeah,
so I have no idea what my titles are going to be. And I really don't even, I kind of know what I'm going to do with the second one, only because I've got a cliffhanger sort of ending.
Mm-hmm.
But, I don't know how I'm going to do it yet.
Oh,
I've been writing it in my head.
Mm-hmm.
So I have notes everywhere. I've got these little Post-it notes everywhere, and I've got, I have like little papers all over my house, and I have little notepads here and notepads there. I've got a big folder with ideas. I have a folder on my computer. I mean, it's insane. When I actually sit down and try to compile all of this, my eyes will be rolling back in my head.
Yeah, it's the editing that kills you, right?
Yeah, well,
There you go. So the cover of the book has the melt on it, and it shows basically the planet melting. And I guess that the intention of that is to talk about how this virus came from the melting global stuff. Yeah. Global warming. You never know what's going to happen with global warming. And what's funny is since you started writing the book, I don't know, it's funny, but 2016, I mean, we've had some really crazy stuff going on with the ice caps. I mean, they've been melting even further.
Yeah.
I believe Russian trawlers can actually go across the North Pole now from one end to the other, where it used to be they couldn't. So, that maybe that's 2021, I mean, right now, 2021's got a lot to live up to.
I know. This is a truly, truly, truly scary time for so many reasons.
Yeah, like this is an apocalyptic book, but at this pace, it might be an uplifter. You're like, well, shit, this isn't as bad as what's going on now. I feel good about this. Let's do this part.
I do try to have some uplifting stuff in the second half of the book.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's good.
There's quite a bit of stuff that goes on that's like, oh.
So is the story mostly in the second half focusing around the couple?
Oh, it's focusing about a community.
Okay.
Basically, what happens is when they get out of the shelter, and then this terrible thing happens, and so they just can't stay there anymore, and they wind up going to Harper's Ferry, West Virginia, where the guy in the book, his name is Ethan, his father had a vacation cabin. And so they decided to go there. So when they get there, there are some people there. And then I pick up the story after they've been there 6 months. So it's this small little community of 35 people. Mm-hmm.
Everyone's trying to survive and
just trying to survive. So it's the story of this community, and then of course you have to bring in stuff that's going to be going against what they're trying to do. So because that's what actually would happen in real life. So I try to I try to keep it believable, and I try to keep all the people in the book believable, and even the villain. The villain is he doesn't know that he's a villain.
I think some people don't know they're evil, or they're behaving in an evil manner. They think they're doing good.
Yeah.
Is that usually the thing of most characters, where they think they're doing a good thing, but they're not, And
Well, it depends. It depends, I guess, on the character. Some of them know damn well what they're doing.
yeah.
In the book that I wrote about this satanic serial killer in Crazy,
Mm-hmm.
the villain knew what that villain was doing.
Yeah. Usually, hopefully, I don't know. Hopefully, where do I get these words? You would think that a serial killer would kind of know after a while that, hey, murder is illegal, eh? And
Yeah.
I'm doing it, so.
And not only that, I'm getting
This
a real
must be
rise
bad.
out of it.
I mean, it's good for me. It's working out for me right now, but this seems kind of bad. Like I shouldn't do it. Like I probably should hide the body because this is bad. This is my take. But no, it's interesting. How many books have you written total?
Well, let's see. I've written The People Next Door, Dreams and Nightmares, Crazy, Cooper's Grove. I've got a couple of short stories. One's called A View from the Meadow. The other is The Chemtrail Conspiracy. Then I've got The Milk. And then I've got 2 anthologies that I wrote with my daughter, Kimberly Johnson, who, as you mentioned, you interviewed her. We did the Virgin Diaries, which was a compilation of 72 stories from real people. We gathered them off of the internet. They're all anonymous, so people wouldn't, so they wouldn't sugarcoat. And it was about their first experience, the people that responded, about their first time. I guess their ages ranged from 20 to 77.
77?
What? Sex. They're telling me about the first time they had sex.
77?
So that was the age of our respondents. I mean, we really had,
wow.
We did half men, half women. We included gay people. Huh. We wanted a real cross-section of people. It's really kind of a fascinating
77.
Study. Yeah, 77, talking about the first time that it was a gentleman about his first sexual experience. Wow. And basically it's talking about the emotional aspect rather than the physical aspects of it.
Yeah.
And then the other one is Ain't No Sunshine. Men, I don't know why I have a thing, but it's men something the pain of heartbreak, and I think it was like 36 men that we interviewed, and they talk about what it was like to lose love, whether it was through being dumped, death, divorce. And it was really kind of a revelation to both of us. We really didn't expect. I think most women think that after a breakup, the second that the guy breaks up, or you break up with him, or he breaks up with you, he's skipping out the door and on, like a bee, on to the next flower. And we found out, no, that's really not the case. I guess maybe that might be the case when he skips out the door after breaking up with you. But if you break up with him, man, some of these guys, I mean, for years, they couldn't get over it. And it was like, what? So it was very informative. Some of the stories were funny. Yeah. Some of them were really tragic and sad. But it was, it was a good look into the male psyche. So,
that's interesting.
And then we also, we interviewed bartenders for that book. Because a bartender,
they hear all the stories.
Right? We also interviewed psychics, and it was really kind of it was very illuminating.
That's very interesting.
Yeah,
that's very interesting. The 70-year-old virgin. I'm not going to be able to get over that for a while. That's going to be stuck in my head now.
Well, no. He wasn't a virgin at 70.
Oh, it was the first time he had what?
Yeah, he's talking about, these were people that gave us their stories. They ranged in age from 20 to 77.
Oh, he was 77. He gave the story.
Okay.
He wasn't
at
a virgin.
77, I don't think, if he'd never had sex before.
I was going to say, if I lost my virginity at 77, I'd break a hip or something. I don't know. I don't know. They have energy for that. I'd be like, we're going to lose my virginity? Let me have a sandwich and I'll think about that.
Yeah.
So he was 77 years old telling about how he
telling the story of the first time.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. That's good. Because I was just like going, wow, 70-year-old virgin. But What was the oldest person then that lost their virginity, or did you ask them that? When they lost their...
Yeah. No, we asked.
Mm-hmm.
How old was the oldest person?
I'm just curious.
Like 34 years old. It was a guy.
34?
It was a guy. I could be wrong, but I mean, I think he was in his 30s. I mean, because it was like, whoa, dude. But it was a guy, and the youngest I think was 12.
You could do it.
That was a freaking. That was a. Ooh.
Was it consensual?
The story was just. I mean, it was just.
You could probably do another book called The Incel Diaries about how people haven't ever had sex and then they really want it bad enough, but they're angry at people because they're entitled.
I know. And they're so angry that nobody will go to bed with them because they go, ew.
Oh my gosh. What is wrong with this generation? I don't know.
I know.
So an interesting book, The Melt. Anything more we should know about the book and what it's all about? Well,
I mean,
we can't give the whole book away, No,
I'm not.
Sorry, audience.
But I would say, basically what it is, it's not one of these Mad Max kind of books.
Mm.
It is an examination of human emotions and how people would react to just losing everything that they hold dear. I mean, all of it, electricity, all of it. And, and
the internet.
And how they get along, I mean, what they do. And also the fact that, that we're living in the time that we're living in. And we have so much at our disposal and it's lost. But there are still things that, say, that book, that I had read that was written in the 1940s. It was kind of crazy because in that book, the guy he wrote that 20 years later, these people are still eating canned goods from the supermarket shelves. Well, I'm sorry, that's just not going to happen. All right. First of all, the canned goods, I think you get sick if you ate something that old.
Yeah.
And also the people in my book, even though they don't have the grid anymore, they still have access to certain technologies. They have access to solar panels.
Oh yeah.
So they can, they can generate their own electricity. And then they also have access because, as is mentioned several times in the book, everything is free. They can go to a computer store and they can get all these computers. So they can use those and they can get all of these how-to things. And so they have a leg up because they can learn things they can learn skills that they don't know because it's all out there, and a lot of it is on video disc, and a lot of it that isn't. Well, then they also have libraries just that they can go to and get all of this knowledge. So it's a little different, and so I'm just. That's what I really tried to portray, and which I will be portraying, as well as other things that I do know. One thing that I'm going to get started, and it does start a little tiny bit in volume 1, although nobody will probably recognize it, but I'll expand on it in volume 2.
Oh, we have something to look forward to in volume 2. This could be quite the story you're going on. Yeah. Interesting tome. So you guys can check it out. You can go on amzn.to, look for The Melt, and it shows the planet with a giant melting thing that reminds me of ice cream on there. So I might have some ice cream after this.
That's supposed to be.
I must be hungry.
The glacier is melting.
The glacier is melting. It looks like ice cream to me.
I freaking love that cover.
Yeah, it's an awesome cover, and it's got a little
awesome
virus thing on it.
Made me that cover.
The world's going to hell, and pretty much definitely a book for 2020. So
yes,
there you go.
Is.
It's maybe you're just prophetic or psychic, and you were just like, I'll start in 2016, but this really can't come out of the can till 2020 because there's something going down that this is just going to be right along with. So. And everything else. I think it's interesting you incorporate some of the characters. Do people wear their masks in this book, by the way? I don't know.
Actually, no, they don't. They don't.
See, there's
that's
a
one
lesson
thing
right
that
there.
I never added to it. But they didn't really have, I mean, really from start to finish.
Mm-hmm.
By the time that my characters, when they found out about it, it was just in the beginning of November.
Mm-hmm.
By the end of December, they were in their shelter. That's how quickly this thing moved.
Wow.
So, I mean, nobody really had time. They could see what was happening on television in other parts of the world because, it's spread out from Mongolia. And from Mongolia, because of what happened, there was a team that went in when this body was discovered, and it went back to Great Britain. So then it spread from Europe, and then the way that it gets in the States is addressed and all that stuff. So it's just, but no, I didn't have masks or any of that stuff because nobody really.
It moves so fast.
It moves so fast that nobody really had the time to even think. I mean, they got there was the thing that, that they were, go home, wash your hands, stay away from people. It was that kind of a thing. That was the advice they got because that's common sense advice. And that's what I thought of when I was writing the book. And of course, and that's what they told everybody, when we actually had the pandemic here.
Yeah. So that's pretty interesting. The Melt. This would make a great movie, huh?
I think it would make an excellent movie.
There you go, Hollywood. Option this baby right away. Wait for the other 2 or 3 books, and then there you go. You got yourself a full screenplay. Anyway, guys, check it out. Go to amzn.to. Check out Ann Werner. Ann, give us your plugs one more time where people can find you on the interwebs.
All right. You can find me at ANNWERNER.info. That's my website, annwerner.info. And if you go to amazon.com and you put my name in there, all my books will pop up. So just type Ann Werner into your search for Amazon, in the Amazon search engine, and my name will come up and it'll show my books, and you can go to my author page and it'll have all my books on there. And then I am at Ms. MS Werner on Twitter. And then I'm Ann Werner Author on Facebook.
There you go. She's everywhere on the interwebs.
Yes,
so check out the book, The Melt. I almost said The Thing. Sorry about that.
I like that movie.
It's
James
The
Lawrence.
Thing, So The Melt. I mean, that could be like I could see this being, multi-part. You could have the first book could be like part 1, and the second book could be part 2, and you just have the whole. It'll just be like the Terminator. It'll just keep right on going for like
there you go.
50 years.
It'll be a franchise.
I'll be melting. Hey guys, be sure to check out the book. You get Arnold to do it. Go to thecvpn.com, subscribe to all our podcasts, tell everyone to join up there. You can see all the great authors on our show at amazon.com/shop/Chris Voss. You can also go to patreon.com/Chris Voss, see our new book club, and youtube.com/Chris Voss to see the live version of this, or video version of this interview. Thanks to my audience for tuning in. Thanks for Ann for being here. We'll see you guys next time. And I think that should be it.